Viewers, today we are in PCEA Ruiru town, and we are dealing with a different kind of a program that goes back into the history that makes us understand how PCEA came to be born out of a merger of two missionary societies, Gospel Missionary Society, GMS, that was based in Kamboi and Ngenda, and then the Church of Scotland Mission that was based in Dogoto. And as we do that, we get to know a lot about it from a group of men and women who were youth members in the year 1969. And these participated in the first youth camp in North Kiambu Presbytery. And many of them have become PCEA ministers and church elders. Also of worthy to note is that they have produced at least two former PCEA moderators, the very Reverend Dr. John Gatto and the very Reverend David Gadanju. So as we listen to the story, we will immerse ourselves in the history and get to understand what caused the merger and the GMS to leave their followers and go back and leave their followers with the then Church of Scotland Mission, and how PCEA came into being one. And the challenges that they had to go through. At some point we discuss even the effects of the oathing ceremony of 1969. So welcome and listen to these men and women who have been instrumental in the Church of God, even as they have served God in various capacities. God bless you. Today I'm accompanied by a group of men and women who have been either involved in a GMS foundation or their parents or their grandparents. And so we are going to learn about that historical matter and then get to know what happened and how that has influenced the ministry of the PCEA Church. So welcome viewers to today's program. We'll start with the chairman of the group, Elder Watatua, who happens to be a grandson of late Reverend Watatua. Can you take a moment and introduce the group, the work of the group, and how you started?
We have been introduced a group that forms part of the pioneer PCEA North Kiambu Presbytery youth group, which was founded early in the 1960s, but it went down a bit until 1969 when the work of the PCEA North Kiambu Presbytery Youth Fellowship was revived in a camp that was held at PCEA Kamboi, led by the late Reverend Stephen Mwangi Shauri, and also facilitated by Reverend Timothy Joya, and also the late John Jero, who was then youth coordinator. So in that 1970, then the youth work in North Kiambu Presbytery started in earnest, and we amongst this group are some of the pioneers who were then involved in the work of the youth, and we have come so far up to now because we still feel ourselves as young people, and we are fully involved in the development of the youth work in the PCEA. North Kiambu that time was a presbytery that entailed with three parishes: parish of Ngenda, Kiamadare, and Kamboi parish. So we were only three parishes, and this group, amongst others, we were able to trek from Kiamadare parish up to Ngenda and beyond up to Chania, the present Chania Presbytery, and all these other presbyteries. So it was a work that involved a lot of traveling and traveling hardships because there were not many vehicles at that time. But we were able to establish the youth work in the presbytery, and now we are enjoying the fruits of our labor, because we have got many groups in the various presbyteries that are now within the original North Kiambu Presbytery. So we have come to remember that period of about 54 years, 54 years now, when the youth work in the presbytery, and now the many presbyteries has been growing, and we trust and believe that we shall be able to, as we grow old or as we come to the end of our journey, we shall have been able to mentor enough people to be able to carry on the work that we started.
I know there are quite a number of you, and a huge number is no longer with us. They have gone to be with the Lord. What prompted the need for you to meet at this particular time?
We thought of coming together to remember what we used to do at that early time. And then we can be able to review the work that we started, and we see how far we have come, and even also to think of how much more we can be able to do before our extinct. So this is part of what has brought us together, to review and to enjoy, at the same time to think of what we can do for the remainder of our time.
Elder Kimani, we are in PCEA Ruiru town, and somewhere along the way I got to learn that Ruiru town PCEA church has its roots from the youth work. Can you speak to that?
It is good at least to remember that this land, the one is beyond the church of PCEA Ruiru. We got this land through the youth. And that time our leader was Zachary Gakuju, the late. And we got this land from Honorable Kenyajui Magogo. Is the one who was given this land. And this land was coming down there from where the Catholic built the store. And I remember it was maybe around 81 or 82. We came there as a youth group. And we came there, we contribute every youth a stone. And we put a foundation there where there is that story for the Catholic. And the Stephen Kamau Kiari was the treasurer at that time for the group. He's the one who was paying the rate to the Kiabu County. And later he had over the file and everything, all the papers, to the Ruiru at that time, PCEA Ruiru, which the session clerk was Mr. Eroda Gitwaja, was a session clerk. I'm sure he had over the file and everything, all the document. And it is better to say that before even there's a church there coming up for the independent. It is Honorable Magogo who said, all the churches belong to me. So I have to give a piece there to the independent. So other people, I don't know how they require that land. But that land was coming from down there up to the end, where there's a stage there, where now the PCEA have the boundary there. All this land was belong to the PCEA, but we got this land through the work of the youth.
Let me go back to Elder Watatua and the issue of the 1969 youth camp. How did you come up with the idea of bringing youth together, and how was it? I know nowadays, because of the experience, organizing a youth camp is very easy. How was the experience?
It was pleasant in the sense that we had held smaller camps before that one of 1969. We had held camps in the various parishes. So this 1961-9 was a mega one, created from smaller camps which we had held in different parishes. So we had that experience of the smaller camps, and then we agreed that in 1969 we shall hold a bigger camp which entailed the 3 parishes, as I had already said. So we had that experience through the smaller camps we had held. And also we had the encouragement from Mr. John Jeru, who was a frequent visitor to our presbytery. And he had been able to form the proper groups or proper groups that were able to now to form a proper camp for 1969. And
now I move on to Elder Gashogu, and many people in the PCA Church today will not know that PCA is a child of two missionary societies, the Gospel Missionary Society and the Church of Scotland Mission, CSM and GMS. And the two merged together in 1945 to form the PCA. Can you speak into what you know about the merger and the process and why the two came together?
The missionaries started early in 1898, and at that time we had NAP, who came all the way from Britain, from America. He was an American born, and after coming, he settled at the Bigwa. From the Bigwa, he started visiting people on 3 issues. First of all was education, educating the people. That is writing, and he got a few people, and then from there he went up to Kamboi. After reaching Kamboi, he started working with the members who were at Kamboi, and there were in 1868, NAP started the work at Kamboi properly. And after working at Kamboi, he spread the gospel to the areas like Ngenda, and he had with the assistants who were there. He was a GMS. NAP, when he arrived in 1902, the NAP began to look for alternative mission sites in the neighborhood from at Kamboi, and he got some of the members were sent to Ngenda, others spread the gospel around Kamboi in full force. Henderson was the one who came to Ngenda many times, and he was a doctor. He was a doctor, so to speak, and he established the church there. The GMS itself and the Gospel Missionary Society and Scotland, they started working together. Then they merged in 1945, and some books say that they merged in 1947. However, that is we can look at that at a greater site.
I know Ruben, Reverend Ruben Gitao, you may not have been there, but I know you have done some research and historical work about the merger of the GMS. And we know that GMS was predominantly based in Kamboi and Ngenda. In your own research and study, what prompted the GMS to hand over their followers to a different missionary society?
What prompted the merger was basically part financial, or largely financial, because there came a time around 1937, 1936 there, when the GMS in the US could not be able to support the mission at Kamboi. For that reason, Dr. Knapp, who was now ailing, who was sick, in a very sad moment, called together the ministers who were there, the evangelists, and the elders, who, if I remember very well, that numbered around 36 there, and he told them of the dire situation and the need now to join with another missionary now in Kenya. There were two choices. There was the African Indian Mission, AIM, and then there was the CMS. And after much consultation and discussions, they finally settled to join the CMS.
CSM.
A lot of correspondence went to and back between the two, And finally, in 1945, the two churches now joined together and became what we have, the PCEA. That is what happened.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. And from your study, and I know you know, when the merger happened, we had some ministers who had already been ordained in a GMS. Must be 3 of them. I know Elder Watatua's grandfather was one of them. You have something to talk about the ministers that moved from GMS into now the PCA.
Actually, I went to church school there. We used to call the place Kwa Watatua, yeah. That is where I started my church school. And went there up to a time when I was about 9 years. So we really benefited a lot from that group. And especially because now, even the GMS influence was still strong at the time we were growing up. So we grew up in that discipline of the GMS.
Okay. So can you give us the names of the ministers?
We had Wanyoike Kamawe, we had Gobaga Kive, we had Peter Kinyaju, who actually baptized me. Those were some of the ministers we had there. But
the ones who actually were ordained by GMS and came to PCA was Reverend Watatua, Wanyoike Kamawe, and Reverend Mutaru, I believe.
Yeah.
I think Reverend
Mutaru in Kihubwini, yes.
Yeah,
Mutaru was in Kihubwini.
Reverend Timothy Goba was ordained after the merger, I believe. It's the father who was an elder, I believe.
Yeah. It's after the merger?
Yes, it's after the merger. Now, it's also good for the viewers to know that the GMS, Gospel Missionary Society, and the CSM, or Church of Scotland Mission, had some doctrinal differences, one of which was the form of baptism. Church of Scotland was doing affusion baptism, GMS was doing immersion baptism. And I know some of you here have been immersed. They were baptized through immersion, not affusion. Elder Morty, can you speak into the baptism by immersion, knowing that you've been an elder in the PCA that has not been doing that a lot?
Wakati huo nilikuwa kijana zaidi. I remember it was 1943. Hiyo niliingia kwa kanisa kabisa. Na nilikuta hawa mabwana watatu. Walikuwa na anjisa hii patest, yani starting of that job. Na wakati huu watu walikuwa wadogo zaidi, wale walikuwa wanapatizwa hapa. Nikawa mmoja wa hawa. Tulikuwa na kwenda kwa mtu anaitwa Thiririka, pahali naitwa Gachuha, yani karibu na Bwana Ngumba hapo. Ajabu, tulikuwa nawekwa kwa kwa maji mpaka hapa. Halafu watatu watafanya kazi, wote watatu. Mmoja ashike hapa na hapa, mwingine atumbukize, na mwingine anashika huko nyuma. Halafu ukifanyia hiyo, ile kitambaa walikuwa nafanya naye kufanguza wewe, ilikuwa na mafuta ajabu. Unaweza sikia harufu yake hata miaka 10. Na ulikuwa na nguo zako zote. Ukitoka huko ukaambiwa kwenda tafuta pahali ya kuvalia nguo zingine. Halafu baadaye wakati kama 1954 hivi, wakaanza kugeuza hii mambo. Wakaanza kutengeneza pahali ya kupatiza watu kama Kambui, wakajenga damu. Hiyo mambo sasa ikageuza kabisa, hatukwenda mtoni tena. Sasa PCA ndio ilianza hiyo, sio GMS. ni hawa wa PCEA. Na wakati huo yule alikuwako ni Reverend Samuel Marima, ndio alikuwa anatumika parish 3, Kiamathare, Kambui na Ng'enda. Huyu ndio alianzisha hiyo mambo na wazee wa kanisa. Sasa baadaye mambo ikaendelea, ikakua, ikafika kama wakati tuliko sasa. Mambo ya ubatizo ilikuwa haina mchezo, ni kama kuokoka, na sio kuokoka kwa siku hii. Siku hii kuokoka ni kama mchezo, anasema mimi naokoka, lakini kwa roho hakuna. Sasa mambo ikaendelea na ikakua vile tulivyo leo. Wakati huo watu walikuwa wadogo sana, na kulikuwa na mkutano tunaenda kila mwaka mwezi ya 8 kutoka Kiamathare mwaka huu, mwaka ngine huko Kambui, ingine Ng'enda. Wakaanza kufikiria mambo ya kihumbwini, lakini haikufaulu. Ikafikisha hapo.
Okay. Sijui na labda wengine wanaweza ongeza kwa niaba ya watu wanasikiliza. Isipokuwa Kambui, tunayo makanisa mengine huko pande ya Ng'enda, Kambui and Kiamathare ambao wako na hiyo baptismal pod pale mbele kama hiyo ya Kambui.
Kabla, kama vile mwenzangu amezungumza hapo kuhusu baptism, mwaka wa 69 ndio kulikuwa na baptism ile ilikuwa kubwa kabisa, maana hiyo ndio ilionekana kama ilikuwa kubwa kabisa pale katika mto wa Komothai. Na wakati huo ndio kulitolewa wimbo ule ulikuwa nasema gwatiai matawa manyu. Wakati huo ndio hiyo wimbo ulifomiwa na North Kiambu Choir. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio ilikuwa sasa inaonekana kama ndio ilikuwa ubatizo wa mwisho. Shauri hiyo ndio ilikuwa mkubwa kabisa 69. Kutoka hapo hakuna mwingine ulikuja. Mimi mwenyewe nakumbuka nilibatizwa pale. Although sikujua nini, na mimi nilienda tu kuangalia. Nilienda tu kuangalia kwa kweli, lakini sasa ikabidi mimi mwenyewe lakini wakati nilikubali nikaulizwa na mzee mmoja na mkumbuka anaitwa the late John Kavugi. He was an elder. Akaniuliza, wewe kijana wa Ng'ang'a, unajua nini unataka kufanya? Nikamwambia ndio nataka kubatizwa. Akaniuliza kama mimi mwenyewe nimekubali kuokoka. Nilisema nimekubali kuokoka hata ingawa mimi nilikuwa nataka kubatishwa. Lakini hiyo ndio ilikuwa the last bigger, at least ile ilikuwa baptism ilionekana na ilijulikana na watu wengi. Mimi nakumbuka, kama siwezi kusahau, waliokoka watu 43 waliokoka katika ile mkutano ulikuwa baptism.
Okay.
Yes.
Reverend Kagiri, wewe ulitumbukizwa kwa maji ama ulimwagiliwa maji?
Mimi niliwekwa bakuli.
Kwa bakuli.
When we were celebrating the 100 years of the GMS mission in Kiambu, Kenya, we reenacted the baptism in Ruiru, and that is when we put up that pod at Kambui now, the one we have. That was actually the celebration. And we baptized so many people there. And the final day when we are celebrating, I remember we had invited Kagendo, the daughter of Nap, and she had brought her husband along. And in the vestry, we allowed the husband to talk for about 5 minutes. And when he went there on the podium, he stayed longer than 5 minutes. And I was pushed by the pastor moderator, the presbytery moderator, to go and tell him, now it's too much. And when I stood up, he knew what I was going to do. He told me, I know the clerk is coming here to tell me to stop, and I cannot travel 8,000 kilometers to come and speak for 5 minutes. Everybody laughed, and then he continued until he was done. Otherwise, that is when we put that pot.
Yeah.
And we previously we had done some baptism at Ruiru River, but on Sunday we put up that font now at Kamboi Current to celebrate the 100 years of the GMS mission.
Okay.
We also held a walk from the Mbegwa, all our stations, according to the order in which they were created, and we headed here at Ruiru. That is where the Kemure is stopped.
Okay.
Yes.
I also remember that baptism was a very serious affair. And the many people who were baptized were not actually young people. There were people who were big people. And when they were baptized, they would swear that they would never go back.
Okay.
So many of them would be baptized in a river on that one side. And when one is baptized, they cross the river to the other side. Meaning that they have left everything behind. So it was a serious affair. And also, those people who were big, mature, like men, when they were baptized and went through the confirmation classes, they were immediately ordained elders.
Okay.
Because it was a serious affair.
Okay.
I hope we go back to that seriousness today.
Serious affair. But I'm interested to know now, maybe Reverend Kagiri, you can speak into this in terms of your experience. There was this transition now from the practice of baptism by immersion to now what PCEA practices, baptism by affusion. After that time, was there some resistance from among some people who really felt that I want to go for immersion rather than this other new practice?
I think there was, and now the PCEA adapted both.
Yes.
It was left to the individual people who wanted to be baptized. If you wanted to be immersed, you are immersed.
Yes.
If you wanted to be baptized the Bakuri way,
Yeah.
then it was okay.
Did you choose the Bakuri way yourself?
Yeah, like me. So actually the fight of either immersion or not was lessened. There was no more fight because it was now individual. What you want is what the church does.
Okay. Dakimani.
I think what I can say about the baptism, the reason of putting a baptism at Kamboi, I'm sure Elder Francis can remember, and also Solomon Kimundoi Jao can remember that. Because the young people, they were running from the PCEA because now we are not using the GMS the baptism. We are using the Bakuri one. Sasa tukaona it is better now we sit down, because I remember we went 2 chairmans, 2 meetings. We agreed that we have to have a podium, and we agreed because now our youth now they are starting to run. Even Reverend Ruth can remember that, because we went to meeting at Kambui twice. Then we agreed that we have to have a podium there, and then we started that podium. Yes.
But he was not immersed.
He was not. In fact, even that Kagendo is the one who speak about that the baptism. I'm the one who shoot even the wedding, her wedding.
Okay.
That Kagendo, and even that the Reverend Gitao said, I'm the one who was recording all that meeting for Kamboi. Yeah.
Okay.
It is important, Reverend, to remember that our young people started moving because of immersion, because other churches came and they influenced the young people, and they were telling them, your church is not a church.
Yeah.
Unless you are immersed, you cannot be you cannot say that you are baptized.
Yes.
And then when you are immersed, you also have the Holy Spirit. And unless you have the Holy Spirit through immersion, you cannot. So our young people are moving to the new movement because of immersion.
And also, Reverend Kagiri, I also made to understand that the Goto Teachers College started as a GMS school in Kamboi again, Ngenda.
Yes, it started in Kamboi as a training school. And then, of course, the population grew. And most of it, then they wanted bigger areas. Kikuyu was one of the places where there was a very big land for the church.
Okay.
So they moved it to Dogoto as teachers, Dogoto Teachers College. And Kamboi was left now for the girls.
Oh, okay.
And other institutions like the hospital. We had a dispensary there, an old dispensary where people were coming.
So the school moved from GMS to CSM.
Yes.
And Dogoto also, it's also good because of the names, like we talked about Kamboi. Dogoto is Scotland.
Scotland, because
and pronunciation
they
brought
understand
it
each other.
And the pronunciation of our own Kikuyu pronunciation brought it to Dogoto instead of Dogoto.
Scotland.
Yeah?
They wouldn't mention the Scotland properly.
That is very important. Now, somewhere in the history of North Kiambu, I came to learn that the presbytery that time used to train their own ministerial students, theological students.
Because there wasn't a lot of money in the church, decided that they would like to train their own minister to serve them. And so the elders in particular places were sending young people to theological college to train as ministers, and then they come to serve them. And one of the first one was Reverend Samuel Marima.
Okay.
Samuel Marima was chosen by elders, and then when he finished, he went back now to serve them.
Reverend Mudhoni Gari, you may be able to understand this. How did it now transition from presbyteries training our own personnel to the centralized form that we have today?
For the harmony of the church, so that the whole church could have the same training, and so that everybody could be trained to have the same theology, the same understanding. So it was after the GMS and CCM merge that they had to train now the ministers together so that they can have that harmony. Some of them being the late Dr. Gatu, who was sent to St. Paul's to go and train. And also because of finances, as we had talked earlier, that is why, and also the harmonization of the church having become one church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I know, Dr. Kimani, that North Kiambu Presbytery, the GMS area, had a convention that started and it became a very strong convention. Can you speak into the impact of the convention to the society and to the church at its own foundation?
I think that time, we now, the youth at that time, we are growing mostly through those conventions. Those conventions were made by, prepared by the parish minister, elders, and together also with the East African Revival. Because you know East African Revival, they were the same were the elders in the churches, mostly in our PCEA, and they were the one organizing the convention. I remember in Kambui, the late Elder Peter Mburu Wanguru was one of the chair for those conventions. And that is where we are growing. And we knew what is the convention, because the convention, it was going for a year every year once, and we used to go to Karia, Kambui, and Ngenda. There's one time I think sikupata wakati huo watu walikuwa naenda Kihubwini. And that time we used to go, mostly we reach there Thursday, we stay there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, moderator of General Assembly, and then that was Pastor Reverend Degato Derete, was the one who was coming to close the convention. So everybody for the PCA used at least to go because they want to see to hear the last sermon for the moderator when he's closing the convention. And now, late in 1997, 98, around there, that is when at least ilianza kufivia, sasa inaisha. Hatukuelewa, maybe I think it's the time now we subdivide Kambui to Kiamadhare Presbytery. That is when at least tuliona sasa inaanza sasa kwenda inapotea, hakuna watu sasa wanapanga. And that time ikaonekana sasa just like it is the reverend pastors, they were the one at least taken over from the mostly for the heading, the convention. That is how that things ended. And I remember even here Ruiru, we had two. Is it Francis? We had two. Since we came Ruiru Presbytery, we had two convention. Since that time, we are not getting. Even Kabui, even Ngeda, all those, it went just like that one. Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to Elder Moate. Maybe you may have some information about it or experience. What was the impact of the East African Revival Fellowship? Hiyo convention ilikuwa inapangwa na kanisa yote. Sasa kuna East African Revival Fellowship. Walifanya kazi pamoja aje?
Walifanya kazi pamoja, lakini siku hizi hawako pamoja. Mambo imekuwa different. Na wakati convention ilivifia mkononi mwa Presbytery. Sasa Presbytery ndio ilifanya ivivie, kwa maana wale walikuja hawajui maana yake. Walikataa kuwa pamoja na East Africa Revival, wakawa peke yao, na hao wakawa peke yao. Siku hizi revival still iko, inaendelea kila pahali, lakini hii convention kuna Presbytery nyingi hasifanyi, lakini kwetu tunaendelea Katodo Presbytery. Kila mwaka mwezi wa 8 tunafanya. Lakini kuna taswisi kidogo hivi. Hiyo mambo ilivifia kwa njia hiyo. Okay. Lakini wakati huu nimeanza kusikia wakisema turudie hii mambo kila pahali. Okay.
Okay.
Kulingana na mipangilio ile ilikuwa kwa hapo mbele ya convention. Wale the revival member kuna wakati walikuja hata wenyewe wakagawanya, kukawa na kupaa kufufuka, group zikawa mbili. Sasa hapo ndipo sasa wenyewe inaonekana ni kama walijiodoa, ni kama sijui kama ni kujiodoa au ni kuodolewa. Sasa now the church, now the PCA, let me say our church now PCA, they start now arranging the convention, elders and pastors. That is where now those East African Revival walitengwa sasa, ni kama walitengwa. Sasa now the elder and pastors now wamechukua sasa usukani sasa wa kuanza kupanga mambo ya convention. And that is where ilianza sasa kuvivia. Yes.
Okay.
I think because of the also autonomy of a presbytery, you are able now, after subdivision of many presbyteries, you are able now to merge again to one. And that is where
I think the convention, the old convention of Kamboi, almost died out.
Okay. Your daughter, you had something.
Yeah, because I'm a product of the conferences. Because I received Christ on the 22nd of August 1965 in Kamboi Convention. And what used to happen was the convention was under the presbytery, and the convention committee was a subcommittee formed by the presbytery to take care of the convention, prepare everything, and even to disciple those who get saved. So the East African revival was a full part and parcel of the convention itself, and they had to report to the presbytery about all the activities. So it was a joint venture.
Okay.
But as Kagiri says, when the autonomy came in, every presbytery had its own way, and they now it depended on who is depending on who.
Okay.
So that is how it came to be weakened, but it was a very strong pillar of the whole church.
Okay. Wow, these are things that we are learning gradually.
Modernization of the gospel and of the things, the beliefs, because there were differences. And there were major differences between the East African revival and the rest of the church, particularly when it came to marriages. If a girl got pregnant before she got married, the parents, if they belonged to the revival, they would not even attend that wedding. So those differences, I think, worked out very badly, and then there was a major difference between the church, the main church now, and the revival. It also divided itself. The East African revival, it had elderly people and young people, and the young people would not merge properly with the elderly people. There were many things which came around, and until we found it was found as if now the East African revival, the old East African revival as it were, is no longer.
But we also acknowledge that the East African Revival Fellowship was interdenominational.
It was interdenominational, and it was very firm, and had it not been for the East African revival, the church would not have stood at that time.
Yes, I agree with you. So the doctrines and the teachings that were being taught at the interdenominational gathering of the East African Revival Fellowship, there were some that may not have been acceptable in particular denominations, and that's how the conflict came. Elder Gashogo, you wanted to say something about it?
I wanted just to go back to the baptism, and give the words which we used to say, because I was baptized in water, and I found in the river, immersion, and we were saying, you put your name, you say your name, did not come here to bathe in the river, but to imitate my Lord who died and resurrected. I want to tell you today, do not remember me as you feast.
Okay.
And in Kikuyu, it's also written here, and I have got that small booklet also with big numbers at home. Nie ngania wa ngania ndiokete haha gwithamba rũĩ-inĩ rũrũ, no njũkĩte kwĩgerekania na mwathani wakwa ũrĩa wakuire na akĩriũka. Those words were the one which somebody said as is being emerged in the river. And he is also brought from wherever the congregation, when we are coming down, we come down to the river. There's people who are coming down with him, singing the Murigiti Ehahareu.
So one had to be very clear and understand.
Yeah.
You are not here to bathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ya hiyo mambo. Sasa hii mwandiko wa hii ni Kikuyu kiepesi zaidi. Zamani nilikuwa nafanya hivi. Kwa ile nilisema mimi mwenyewe. Mimi Francis nimekuja hapa. Sikukuja kwa ajili ya mtu. Na keuga gatiriri kiu twaragia. Nie mwati ndinoka haha ndinoka haha gwithamba no ndoka haha kuma umuthi ndoka haha inyue muingiri muingi niguo weragwo ndoka gutiga ngwataniro itu na inyue mukiria na mukinywa mutikanandigirie nigukorwo ni ndatiga ngwataniro itu na ndatiga ngwataniro itu na mwathani.
Wow.
Ukarindwo ruwe ni mwihitwa wari muritu muno. Pio muritu.
That was, you had to be very clear and understand why you are here.
Yes.
You're not here because because you want to bathe. It is a serious business.
Oka utiga mehia mothe ha ruwe.
And there is something that was supposed to be added for us to know where was GMS doing its immersion baptism in terms of the water sources.
What used to happen was that the parishes, or well, as he said, there were only 3 parishes, but they used to identify some of the rivers which they would want to use for the purpose. Kamboi and Kiamadare used to join hands and did it together. And most of the rivers, some of the rivers they used to use were Mukoyo River. There is also Kamiti River. These rivers are still there, although these days they have become smaller than they used to be. There was also Kigogo River near Migota. There was also Komodai River, Karweti River near Kajai, and Ruiru River at Upper Marige Bridge. When we went to Ngenda, there was River Theta and also the Ririka. These were some of the rivers that used to be used for that purpose. Okay. And Chania River, of course, the main river. And Daru. So, yeah. So those were some of the rivers that were identified for this purpose. Okay. And as we had earlier said, it is the agitation or the movement of the youth from the PCEA because of the baptismal fact that caused this, our group, then the North Kiambu youth group, to decide. And even we went up to the presbytery and we were allowed to build what Kimani was talking about. Okay. And of course, when Reverend Getao came later and their group, they were able to build that immersion thing. But we had started the idea because of that mass movement of the youth, because of the Pentecostal churches claiming that we were half-baked for being not baptized through immersion. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let's go back to something that we mentioned and also reflect on it with what was happening in the country at that time or in the society. The youth had their camp, their first camp in 1969. And then there was also the issue of the conventions that were being done by North Kiambu Presbytery at that time. But 1969 is also a year that is key in terms of the politics of the land. There was the oathing ceremony. Probably Titus, you would speak. How did the oathing ceremony affect the issue of the spiritual growth of the members or the church at that particular time?
As you say, during that 1969, it was a very difficult time because we were having the oathing system, and young people usually did not like it. I would use the word like, did not like it, and Mr. Mwati will talk about part of it. However, when we became strong and joined each other, we were spreading the our own gospel, private, in a confidential way. Don't move to that area. But some of them agreed. Those who went, they went. Those who did not want, they stayed like that. And I'll ask Mwati to add.
Before Mr. Mwati talks, that particular time, most of us were in school. And you know, when we are in school and we are just a bit above teenagers, but when we are in school and there's such a general movement, most of us thought it was a joke. Because when you are in school, even in universities, some of those things are not taken seriously by the students because they do not understand fully what is going on. But we could obviously see what was happening to our parents. And there was that commotion now of not understanding what is happening even in politics, because in school there are no politicians. We are all one. So it was a problem that we first of all, we didn't understand it fully. Secondly, it was affecting our parents and the general communities. So it had some impact, obviously, but as youth, we did not understand it fully. Those who were grown-ups like this, maybe they understood what it was, but as in schools, it was a joke to some extent.
You know, before he talks, you know, as a teacher, especially, I was a teacher.
Okay, and you were a student.
They were a student. Yes. We were used to be called to places, just in the president's place, to go and sing for him.
Okay.
And when we are singing, people were being put, come, in gear. Nobody would know what is happening. Therefore, it was a difficult issue because some of us did not know even what is happening.
Okay.
And I was pushed, and then I entered there. Although I don't even say what they did for me, but I went through. And then I came back and I did not even tell the others. So nobody would know the whole thing system, how it was going.
So there were people who really did not understand.
They did not understand. It was not understood, so to speak.
Okay.
And that's why I was asking Mr. Mwati to talk about something.
We will
about
come to Mr. Mwati.
Yeah.
You have something to say about it.
Well, that is true. It is better to know that some of us, we went. Because 1969, I think that is the year I went to Nairobi, but I came to visit home. And the time I came, I found that is the time people are going. And then, well, I was told there is somewhere we are going. Also, we didn't know, but you are told.
Told by who?
By my father.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So then I was taken. It was a place called Kiamoria. That is where people use that is to go. And the time when I went there, if you are coming out, you are told never talk to anybody about this.
About it, yeah.
And that is what I did.
Okay.
I have never talked.
Okay.
Yes.
And
it is true. Because I didn't know. And I didn't know, but I went.
Okay.
Yes.
Even today, there's a time when I'm talking.
Yeah, okay. Reverend Gitahu.
Yes.
I could hear this and that. I was about 9 or 10 years old then. I never did go. But what happened, of course, is there was a lift in the church between those who went and those who did not go. So the ministers later organized gatherings where they performed a kind of cleansing to reunite the people, and that is how the church healed. Also, persecution sometimes result in strength. After persecution, the church does not grow weak, it usually grows stronger. So even from that time, there was another shift in the faith, especially when we some brothers of the revival around Pale, you call it what? Muthega. Some were beaten, some died. The church really became stronger, and that is historical. These things happen after that. Else, we did gatherings to, I could hear about those gatherings, and then people would come together, and then they would kind of repent and then reconcile, and that is how the church healed. Our church also was instrumental in stopping the whole business. Our leaders went down to Mombasa to talk to the president, and then he called it off after that meeting with them. Thank you.
Elder Monte.
Hii mambo ilitoka kwa president yeye mwenyewe, na siku ile iliita kanisa letu nilikuwako. Kulikuwa Mr. Gatu, Crispus Kiongo na Malima na mimi mwenyewe. Kama tulienda na Malima kama mtoto kidogo, asiende peke yake. Sababu ya hii kitu ilitokea, president mwenyewe alisema nimeita nyinyi kwa maana nimemjua nyinyi ni wa Kristo, na hii mambo tunataka ifanyiwe kuunganiza wale GAT na hawa maito maumau, waunganizwe pamoja. Lakini upendo wenu ni ngumu kwa mimi. Mwataka nifanye nini? Kanisa lenu litaingia ama mwatakaje? Crispus Kiongo yeye mwenyewe akasema hii mambo ya hii nyuma sisi hatutaki, na hii achiriwa kabisa katika dunia. Si kusema kanisa yenyewe peke yake, alisema katika dunia iwaachiliwe. Lakini president yeye mwenyewe akasema upande ya kanisa ya PCEA, hao watu msiende kwao, nimewapatia wakae vile walivyo. Mr. Gatu wakaambiwa omba tuende. Hii mambo yakaisha. Sasa hao watu walikuwa hypocrites, wale walikuwa natumia hiyo kitu, hawakufanya hivyo. Walitoa hii ije kwa location, kila location wafanyiwe huko, lakini hawakufanya vile walioambiwa. Kabla siku 3 kumalizika, wakitoka ije wakaja kwangu mimi mwenyewe niwapatie kondoo ya kupeana hiyo kitu. Nikatumia nguvu, nikatoa kishu, kamwambia yule mtu atafuka hapo kifo, yeye na mimi kifo. Mara ngapi? Siku 3, lakini wakaniwacha. Kwa hivyo watu walikuwa hypocrites kabisa, hawataki watu wajue. Hata tulienda kanisa huko Ngenda, wakaenda kwangu nyumbani wakachukua watoto, wakaenda nao kuwapatia hii muma. Lakini watoto walikuwa wadogo sana, hawakujua ni nini, isipokuwa yule mkubwa aliweka mdomoni lakini hakumeza. Walipoachiliwa akatupa. Sasa hii mambo ikaendelea, kapanuka dunia mzima. ile mambo ya Kenyatta wakashika wale walikuwa wanataka shika, lakini kwa kanisa letu hatukutaka Muma, lakini iliendelea kwa siri.
Okay. And Francis,
Really, mambo ya oathing, it was very bad, especially kwa youth wale walikuwa converted na wale watu walikuwa na mchezo. By then I was a treasurer in a parish, and they were fighting us leaders to take oath. Also I was a manager, a farm manager, and I had a lot of people. Some were talking about it, some were not talking about it, some were accusing me to go, and so on. But you can remember samani watu walikuwa nalete kama analete bao kama hii anaandika jina lake. Mtu anaweka mlango anaweka jina lake ya kanisa, ya kwa kanisa. Some doors were removed, some were removing mabati, those who went for oathing and those who never did it. There was a great gap. Kulikuwa mtaro kubwa sana kwa hawa na hawa, lakini mimi watu hawa walienda nini wakastaki mimi kama manager. Nikakuja nikachukuliwa na gari yangu ya farm manager nikapelekwa huko, lakini I was very annoyed. Na kama bwana Mwati anasema mimi sikomesa hiyo kitu kwa kuwa niweka kwa mdomo nikanyamaza hivi tupo hapo nje nikatupa. Lakini hebu nimwambie tulikuwa na kazi ngumu. Wale walienda na wale wakuenda na wewe iko katikati, kufanya kazi ilikuwa ngumu kwa kuwa hawa wanakaa kando, wengine wanakaa kando. So we have to manage two groups in order that they may work. We have to manage even church. Watu hawa na hawa wasikilizane. Kama bwana Kiongo, bwana Gatu walifanya mkutano kubwa sana Nakuru. Ndio watu hawa wakuwe pamoja na wakanaanza hii ni oathing na nini na naletwa ni serikali. The following day they were taken to Mombasa. That was my family friend, so he gave me all the what happened when they went to Mombasa, because Kiongo told Gato we hapana ongea, mimi naongea, we hapana ongea. So hiyo maneno yakamalizikia Mombasa na wakanangusi Nyere, Nakuru, Mombasa, Shogoli and so on. So nataka kumwambia ya kwamba hii maneno ya oathing ilikuwa very hard, na kuongeza hii hata hawa youth ndio wakuja kampu hiyo. Nasikia Reverend Kalemi ilifanywa, it was very hard. Some left kanisa kabisa na wakaenda. Wale remain ni akina hawa, unaona, kwa kuwa we were strong. Even if some oathing was going on, we were working day and night. Chini ndio watu waendelee mzuri. Lakini nataka kusema ya kwamba it was a very difficult year, but we managed.
Okay, thank you so much. Finally, Joseph.
Hello. About this issue, I think it's the time that the church started coming up strongly, because the pastors took an initiative of following the members, and especially young men, because by then some of us were taken without knowing. We were told we are going to greet Mzee Kenyatta, na tulipofika katikati na tujui gari na tulipata ya mtu wa kwetu. Mimi na mtu nilikuwa na bibi yangu, tuenda bibi yangu. Tukafika pale katikati, kijana mmoja alikuwa mzee kuliko mimi, akasema kama hamtatupeleka kwa Kenyatta nini, tukalete opposition jiani sana. Kwa hivi sisi kutolewa pale, tulitolewa Molo, tuliletwa mpaka Gatundu. Tulimwambia usipotupeleka Gatundu, lakini tulipofika huko alipigwa. Kwa hiyo pishani alipigwa, hata kule nyumbani nilikaa karibu siku 4. But I pray God that the faith will still stand. Kwa sababu wachungaji walifanya kazi ngumu sana, na wasee wa kanisa wale walikuwa ni wasee wa kanisa, na grupu ya TED nao wakachukua ujukumu kurudishia watu kufanya. Kwanza vijana walirudishiwa sana wakati huo, na wakaanza kuja moja, hata wale tulienda huko wakaanza kurudi kwa kanisa na kuanza kuendelea na kanisa vile ipasavyo. Kwa hivi pongezi kubwa ni wachungaji wao walikuwako, walifanya kazi gumu sana usiku na mchana, na wakijua umeenda huko, they could not tell you, ni kukwambia kuja, wanakulegesha kwa upendo na unaendelea tu na njia ya kusifu Bwana, kwa sababu walijua huko kwa sababu ulikuwa unajua, ulienda huko kama mjinga, na kanisa ikaendelea. Ile kitu hiki ningetaka kusema ya habari ya convention ilikuja kwa njia mzuri sana, kwa sababu ileta vijana kuwa pamoja na wachungaji kuwafuata, na siku hiyo wachungaji wengi walikuwa na baisikeli, walikuwa na mguu, kama Joshua Matejo walikuwa natembea all the way to Ruiru to Uplands yake kama evangelist, na walifanya kazi kubwa sana ya kutembelea watu na kuonesha njia kanisa na kuonesha kanisani. Convention naye iliwekwa moto na wachungaji wao walikuwako, kama ile ilikuwa ya mwisho kabisa 1978 ambaye ilitengenezwa na Kamboi na North Kiambu. Tulifanya huko Kamboi, na mchungaji aliyekuwa lakini alituasha, alikuwa anaitwa Jothe Mwandu, alifanya kazi kubwa kwenda usiku na mchana kuja kwa sisi. Siku nilikuwa nakaa Misarara, na kuja kwangu, anakuja kwa kina Kimani, kuja kwa mwingine, mpaka aone hiyo kitu imefaulu. Na kwa kweli sababu ilikuwa international, tulipata watu kutoka Uganda, watu kutoka West Africa, na wengine walikuwa kutoka Tanzania, na ikafaulu sana. Na tangu siku hiyo ni kama hakukuwa na convention nyingine ambayo imekuwa ikiendelea. That's how much I can say.
Thank you. That was quite informative, and as I said, I knew the issue of all things may have affected the church in one way or the other. But now let's move on, Elder Watatua. We have now this group that has reunited after those youth days. Now you have reconnected, and you are coming together in meetings. What are the future plans of the group?
The future plans, because we have seen the need to come together and remember some of the things that we used to enjoy, and also to enjoy the time together. Then our idea is to make the group grow as it used to grow by organizing an anniversary for the 54 years we have been there. Then we can involve everybody else, those people who are not here, plus our families, so that we can have one or 2 days when we can be able to meet together. And we also would like to involve the youth office, PCEA youth office. If we can, we shall maybe after this meeting we shall form a committee to organize for that anniversary, wherein we shall involve the youth office and anybody else who may be relevant to the group, even the PCMF office, because we also have several PCMF members, so that we can be able to gauge our mentorship capabilities and see how we can be able to hand over what we used to do to the generations behind us.
Okay.
So that is our major plan, that we want to grow bigger than we are today, and have a committee that can be able to organize other activities of the group.
Okay. So let me come to Dr. Mani. Maybe you can mention 2 or 3 things. What are those good things that used to happen in the past that you would want to retain or revive today for the benefit of the current youth generation?
Yeah, thank you very much, Reverend Karemi. What I can remember those days, one, we talk about the revival. Revival helped mostly youth very much, because we used to have a seminar every year once, And the revival people, they sit with the youth, the current that time. They taught us how we can at least grow maturely, or how at least as a Christians. And mostly in our time, we had many people, like Ruth is here, can testify, Reverend Ruth, and others. At our time, there were no, at least a lady can say, I was propagated in the youth, you know. We use at least to look at them very well. Even them, at least, the boys and girls, we use at least to go as a brother and sisters. So otherwise we had a very good time. And I think maybe probably like the way chairman saying, if the youth coordinator, even before that time coming, the youth coordinator from the head office, probably maybe can organize, and we can frontier ourselves to have maybe 2 or 3 people from maybe presbytery or parish. The church can organize. We sit down with them, we talk to them, we tell them why we succeed when we are in the youth, because they are in the leadership now. Those are the people now, they are ordained as an elder, they are ordained as a pastors. And probably like today, if you look at the parishes where the ministers used to be in the youth at our time, it is very firm.
Okay.
Yeah, that is maybe what I can request. Maybe from the head office to prepare, to organize. Probably we are free. We can at least sit down with those youth. We can have a one day a seminar. We talk to them. They ask a question. Then we talk to them. Then we educate them. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. I brought in Reverend Simon Gediora, not because he belongs to your youth group. He's far from there. But because of the things that he got to learn during your anniversary celebrations, and probably from an outsider's point of view, he has been able to assess the impact of this group in the society and also in the church. So maybe Reverend Gediora, you can take some minute and speak to that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karemi. And I think allow me to do 2 quick comments before I get into that discussion. First of all, the passion that we have seen with you, Reverend Karemi, wanting to do what Psalm 78 says, that pass it to the next generation. Having all this history, and the history can be shared to the next generation. What the chairman here, Mr. Watatu, has said in the process of mentorship. So we want to thank you so much through the episodes. And now you can confirm with us that the episodes that you have been bringing from the ministers, like my senior who is sitting next to me here, and others, they are very nice. And now you can confirm they are elders that can bring in the rich history of our church. The second comment is that I sit here as a beneficiary of 2 things. Number one, it is through my friendship with Elder Titus Gashogo Wainaina. We have been friends for 3 decades. And he told me about this movement. But allow me to say, when we talk about GMS, I am a product of GMS because I am born and brought up in Kehumbuine, PCEA Kehumbuine Parish, Kehumbuine Presbytery. Kehumbuine, you know, it was one of the regions, one of the presbyteries then that benefited from GMS, courtesy of our own Reverend, the late Reverend Mutaru Wajoga. And from him and our grandfathers and our grandmothers, we learned a history. And even as we sit here today, I still wonder how those people are performing, because we are coming all the way from Kehumbuine to Ngenda to Kamboi. There were no good road networks. There were no mobile telephones. There were. We were in the dark. But those people managed. I know, and I can confirm as one of the ministers, it is through passion and commitment to what Rodamwatu was talking about during baptism. That commitment is the one that will propel somebody go forward to work and serve. Having said that, Dr. Karemi, I got to interact with this group when I served at the head office with the youth department, and thank God because I was given a whole 11 years to serve with the youth department. So when we were writing the history of the youth, 1960 to 2010, I got to interact with a lot of North Kiambu youth, and through Titus and Mr. Watatua, I was able to gather a lot of history, and a part of the history is in a book that Titus is holding here. And I learned a number of things, and I want to draw two relationships here, because when the church youth was starting then, we were again at the dawn of independence. Our country was as well young. So the youth, and you appreciate Daktari, I sit among people who are over 65. You look at them. I think I'm the only one here who is not at that level. And we need to appreciate them, our viewers. You can appreciate our fathers here, wherever you are. They are retired elders, retired ministers, retired managers, retired civil servants, and they are doing great things. So when they started, when the youth was starting, when they are talking about in the 1960s, the same people sitting here, they went to school. So they took advantage of education. And they took advantage of many openings that were coming up with the young nation when Kenya got independence. So some of them went all the way to become senior civil servants, as they sit here. They retired as senior civil servants. They became church ministers. They became elders. And to me, Daktari, I see that this team got involved in the process of transformation, not only in the church, but also in the nation. What I gather from them and the camps that they're talking about, the 1963, the 1969 camp, they were doing three things. First, they were gathering the youth. You know, because the church was young. In the 1960s, we had the first and the second General Assembly, you know, with the very Reverend late Kareli, the very Reverend late Crispus Kiongo. That was the first and second General Assembly. So you can imagine these people started with the church. They jumped with the General Assembly. So they got involved in gathering, bringing youth to the church. And I think that's why the ladies, the camps were very serious. And they could go very long distances so that they make sure that these people were able to be brought and inducted into the system. The second thing that we were doing, during those camps, and we are beneficiaries of that, they were growing them through teachings, through trainings. And the third thing, they were guarding them. That's why somebody talked about fornication was never had. Immorality was never had, because they were being guarded. So when we served at the youth department, and as we continue to support those who are serving right now, like Reverend Anthony, who is now the youth secretary, we see that there is a lot that we can learn from this group. One, I see people who have been together for over 50 years, and they have not lost contact. They know one another as buddies. They are not in the same parish. They are not in the same presbytery, that they have retained their relationship. This is something that we can learn, the current generation of church ministers and elders and the youth, that these people are still there. When you look at them, on a light note, these people, I think you can tell that they are men who are well groomed. Yes. Women who are well groomed. Look at our minister there, Muthoni Ngari. People who are well groomed, people who are well fed. But they are men of age. They are from 70, I can imagine, majority of them. But they are still very, very strong. Look at them. They are still driving. Why? They did not get into the ways of drugs and drugs addiction. Those people who get into the ways of drugs and drug addiction, they cannot concentrate on the highways, driving on the highways. So there's something that we can learn, the current youth, that these people, and these men and women, they meant whatever they said. They got into faith, and they have stood with faith. So, and probably what they are telling us today, Reverend Karemi, they are telling us like what Paul told one of the churches, that what you have seen in me, what you have heard from me, what you have seen me doing, please do it. And I think that's what the current generation of ministers, we are being told. We met a very strong church. We met a very, very strong church. We met men and women who are committed with the Kigomano, the fellowship that Elder was talking about, the Kigomano. Why do you bring these things down when you are probably the people who are sitting at the presbytery? That there is no Kigomano, there is no fellowship. I think these are some of the things that made the church to grow. Somebody said it is through the fellowship that the church was growing. You see, the country was growing, the church was growing. And remember, probably as I conclude, we still learn from our documents and research that the country used to consult the church. The country, whenever the country wanted to do something major, wanted to carry a major program within the country, the president, the members of the cabinet consulted the Presbyterian church. What happened? These people are serious, these people went to school, and these people loved their God. I think what we can learn from them is that they were very serious with the gospel and they were very connected. I understand the first Kenyatta cabinet, we had 2 or 3 cabinet ministers coming from the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. I know even today, we saw them in the General Assembly, 24th General Assembly. We have a few cabinet secretaries or ministers, and I think we can do even better. The last thing I want to say is that these people, you know, we have in the old Kikuyu hymn book and the new Kikuyu hymn book, hymn number 2 in Kikuyu, he nyumba njega thĩinĩ wa andũ. And then there is this stanza that says, muthenya wa kiumia nĩ mwega, muthenya wa kiumia nĩ. These people, I think they stood with that. They were going to church with their children. And that's why if you count these people, some of their children, some of them that I know, they have gone all the way. They, like Titus' daughter is a waziri in this county. I know the daughter of late Reverend Mutaro Joga is a senior civil servant at the Attorney General's chambers. And I know many of their children, they are doing well because they took their children to the church. I think that's something that we are learning. That they sang. We have ministers there, like Elder Watatua, the grandfather was a minister. And Elder Mwati, his son, Reverend John Waweru Mwati, and we congratulate you on your induction. The son is a minister. By the way, he was my classmate, John Waweru Mwati. So I think these people, they have really benefited because they stood with their God. They are leading businessmen. He told us he was the one who was in charge of photography and recording during the wedding of Nap's daughter, Amzungu. So you can see they are beneficiaries. It is my prayer. Having served in the church, having been given an opportunity to serve at the youth department, I know we can get a lot. Our children can benefit from this church. And I want to support what the chairman has said, that celebration. And I know the Reverend Anthony, who is the youth secretary, will be very happy to partner with you. And we are there to support you with the former youth, regional youth coordinators. Majority of them now are church ministers. We are ready to support the move and the celebration. I thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, my friends, I want to take this opportunity to thank each one of you for creating the time to come and share with us that particular narrative. Help us to reconnect with the past and the foundational issues that have brought the church this far and have made us to be who we are today in the church and even in the society. I want to thank you even for your mentorship role. You are doing a very good job by coming together and purposing to be there in the church. You are either directly or indirectly becoming mentors in this church among the youth. And then as you come together to see what you can do in terms of continuity of the work of the church, you are also opening yourself up to be consultants. We can consult you on matters pertaining to the future of the church, and where challenges come, you have been there, done that, you know how, and that's why I was interested in the story of how the church came out of the oathing season in 1969. Some of you may have said that it was not really a major impact, but from the discussion you can tell. But the church came out strong. Reverend Ruben here said that it is during persecutions that the church knows how to come together and pray together and become strong to fight against the forces of the church. So you have been there, you are experienced, and we want to thank somebody like Titus here, for Elder Titus Gachogo, for writing a book, the Power of the Rod. You're telling the story of your experience. Somebody said that the richest place in this world on earth is the grave. Why? It has all these people who had stories to write, but they never wrote. They died with them. So we have to learn the art of keeping a record of what we have gone through for the sake of the future generation. So may the Lord bless you and be with you and add you more years to impact the Church of Christ. Viewers, we thank you for your viewership and being with us through this program. May the Lord bless you as you continue to listen to the various episodes that we have of The Regents. Continue to subscribe. See you in the next episode of The Regents. God bless you.